ora everyone, my name is Jess Quinn. I am an AIA Vitality Ambassador all the way from New Zealand, and I feel really honoured to be here today to share my story with you, to connect further with people from around the world who are associated with AIA. It's such an honour, and I think we're all on such similar missions, so it's absolutely amazing to be able to connect and to bring this live event to you all. And something that I am hugely passionate about and have a reasonably unique experience with is body image. Now, it's probably not the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of health and well-being, which is something we talk a lot about here at AIA, but it does play a huge role in the health and the well-being, especially of our mindset. And that's something that we can't forget about. I believe that to have a healthy body, we must have a healthy mind. And to have a healthy mind, we need to be feeding it things that nourish it. We need to be speaking to it in a way that shows love, and it shows compassion and patience and understanding to the unique bodies that we all live in. And they are definitely unique. Something that I say a lot is the one thing we all have in common as humans is that we are different. And I think that's something we should celebrate. So I wanted to talk to you today about body image. I want to touch on what that means. I also want to share with you my story and the unique, way that I came to have this relationship with my body, and also just leave you with some top tips that hopefully you can start to think about and hopefully implement into your lives in a way that gives you the tools that you need to focus on what your body can do, not on what your body looks like. Now, I want to start with what body image is. It's super simple. Broken down, body image is simply just the way we view our bodies. But I believe we have been living in a society for too long, especially for us that identify as women, who have this pressure from mainstream media, from social media, from the outside world to look a certain way, to be a certain way, and to act a certain way. And because of all of that, there's a lot of things that come into play. There's toxic diet culture. There's expectations that are put upon us in terms of the way we should look. And because of that, and the influence of social media, which I believe is so accessible to all of us right in our pockets, we are constantly in a state of comparison. And I think we have gotten to a place where we compare our bodies and we pick our bodies apart for how they look. And we've completely forgotten the most important thing, and that is just that we simply have a body that we get to live in, that we get to experience life in, that we have relationships in, we have amazing experiences with. And I think that's the most important thing about our bodies. So one of my main missions is to get away from this body talk. We don't need to spend all day talking about our bodies. We don't need to be picking our bodies apart for the way they look. All we need to do is focus on how they move, how they feel, and how we feel in those bodies. So a bit about my journey, and one of the main things that I believe in is that our bodies are ever changing, particularly as women, but as any one of us, our bodies are always changing throughout our life. For women, throughout the month, they are changing constantly. And that's something that is really important, because if we are focusing on trying to make our bodies look a certain way, if that is our main focus, then we're never going to reach this place of happiness, this place of contentment. It's always going to be a constant battle with ourselves and with our relationship with our body, because we're constantly going to be trying to fit into this mold that we can't attain, because it's just ever changing. Our bodies are constantly changing. And that's something that I learned at the age of 8. So when I was 8, I was diagnosed with a bone cancer in my right leg. And after almost a year of chemotherapy, just before my 9th birthday, I ended up having my leg amputated, which obviously at the time was a really massive journey for me to go on as a person. But I don't think I realized at such a young age just how much of an impact that was going to have on my life, and all of the other ways that it was going to challenge my relationship with my body. So literally overnight, my body changed almost as dramatically as a body can change. And that really makes you question your relationship with your body. But it took me a while, obviously, to get to that point. I was young, I was a kid, I just wanted to get back out. The one thing I missed was being with my friends, being at birthday parties, playing in the weekend, playing sports. I wasn't focused at all on what my body looked like because I'd spent a year in a hospital. All I wanted to be able to do was just be back living in my body, not looking at this unusually amputated leg that I had now. I just wanted to be living in my body. And that was something that I was really grateful to have. My amputated leg gave me the chance to live again. So that was the beginning of the process for me to learning to love my body for what it can do, for what it allowed me to now do. Even though those abilities are often really different from most people, it still allows me to move my body and to be out there. And I think slowly in my life, I've begun to focus on that more than the way our bodies look. And I'm grateful for that experience because it gave me that opportunity. And it's not always perfect. None of us are going to be perfect. We're going to have days where we have bad hair days, or we have days where we can't kind of, grasp how we're really feeling in our bodies. So we start to take it out on the way our bodies look. But as a whole, I became to be really grateful for the body that I had. And in all honesty, it started to take a little bit of a turn as I got into my teenage years, which does happen for a lot of us. We start to understand who we are. We start to compare ourselves more with other people in society. And I think the subconscious messages that often the mainstream media have on us starts to take a toll, and we begin to pick ourselves apart, which is such a shame. And it's something that I really experienced because I was going through the normal body image issues that a lot of teenagers go through, as well as being almost 5 years out of losing my leg and I guess coming to terms with what that meant for me. And so I spent, I think it was about 8 years where I didn't wear anything shorter than my knee. I didn't want anyone to know about my leg. I wanted to hide away from it. I didn't want the world to see me as me. I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be normal, which is a word I do not enjoy, but at the time I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to fit into this mold that I thought everyone else fit into. I didn't want to be the one person that was different, and this was how I viewed myself at the time. And eventually, about 8 years later, I was around at some friend's place, and it was a hot summer's day, and they encouraged me to put on some shorts. And I will never forget that feeling. It was the most liberating feeling in the world to simply put on a pair of shorts and realize that I was the person that was holding myself back, because regardless of if I was wearing shorts or not, people were staring at me on the street. I walk a little bit differently. And I realized the thing that I struggled with was how I felt about my body, not how other people viewed my body. And I got to this place where I didn't care as much anymore. I reminded myself that I was grateful to have this body, to have this life. And this unusual body of mine is the body that gave me that life, that allows me to be able and to go for walks and to be out with my friends. And those were the important things. So I had this really awakening moment. I had an epiphany where I realized that I no longer wanted to try fit in this mold that society was putting out there. And I also realized over a few years that this mold that society puts out as perfection, if you like, is unrealistic, it's unattainable, it's not something that we can all fit into. And my mission ever since has been to fight that, to challenge that, to acknowledge that I wasn't the only one that grew up feeling different. In fact, I think there was more people that grew up feeling different than there wasn't. So that's something that I wanted to spend the rest of my life speaking to, I guess, and addressing, because I think it's such a shame that we spend so much of our lives hiding away from ourselves and our uniqueness and our differences, only to realize one day that we're all different, and that's amazing, and that should be celebrated. So that's where my relationship with my body began and grew, and ever since I have continued to challenge that through becoming a model. I wanted to young people to grow up and see images of someone like myself who was obviously different, and for them to know that it's okay to be different. So I guess that's my journey. That's how I got to where I am today. And I remember for a really long time, I thought me speaking about it was maybe not going to get across, because maybe people who had both of their legs couldn't, I guess, relate to my relationship with my body and how I might have got to that point. But the more conversations I have, the more I've realized that people do relate, because just as much as you're probably feeling right now, you know that there's a part of you that felt different at a certain time of your life. So you can relate to those moments. So I guess taking it back to body image and the way that mainstream media, I guess, makes us feel about our bodies, it's something that I think we can all challenge. It's something that we can put our foot down and notice ourselves when we're starting to feel like maybe we're comparing ourselves, or maybe someone else's body is having an effect on the way we view our body, or maybe we are being too hard on ourselves, or we're looking in the mirror and picking ourselves apart instead of just celebrating who we are. I think that's something that we can all learn. So I wanted to leave you today with a few top tips, and I hope you got a little bit out of my journey, my message, and how I got to where I am. But I think if we can, it's been a long journey. I am nearly 20 years since losing my leg. And so this didn't happen overnight for me, but I hope by having these conversations and by having incredible brands like AIA and the work they do with AIA Vitality to be able to bring those messages to life, I hope we can all slowly implement that change where we live in a world where we're not held back by the way our bodies look, where young people aren't growing up and focusing solely on what their body looks like. They're celebrating and just living their best life because they're grateful for the body that they're living in. So I think my 2 top tips would be, number 1, to eliminate comparison. And these days, comparison is everywhere. It's on billboards as you're driving down the street. You're often subconsciously comparing to the images in those, to the people in those images. There's social media, there's mainstream media. And I think we're really lucky in 2020 to be living in a world that's slowly changing that. I think we're seeing billboards, we're seeing pictures on social media, and we're seeing people on TV who are different, who represent a wider range of people. And I think trying to take the time to notice those moments and compare those to the moments where you maybe compare yourself and you don't feel so good, and stopping in those tracks and saying to yourself, I am me and I am different, and just like everyone else, I am different, but I am uniquely me. And I think that's something that really helped me to be able, I guess, to see my power. And I have a mantra that I say in those moments when I'm starting to compare. I say, I am me, and that is my power. So having a little mantra on the side that you can have, and it's going to take some time, but just slowly stopping yourself in your tracks if you are starting to compare your body is something that really helped me a lot. And it helped me to, I guess, develop my relationship with my body away from what it looks like. And that leads me on to my second point, which is having a relationship with your body away from what it looks like. So for me, it was finding movement and finding ways that I can move my body with the abilities that I have that allow me to be, I guess, grateful for my body for what it can do. And that's something that fully changed my relationship with my body. I fell in love with the gym. I fell in love with walking. I fell in love with being out in nature. And I found I didn't have time to pick my body apart for what it looked like, because how could I do that when I couldn't have done all of those things that I just did in that day or in that moment had it not been for physically what my body can actually do. So finding those things, it doesn't have to be exercise. We do a lot of movement and a lot of celebrating of different types of movement and ways of looking after our body at AIA. And it could be more mindfulness. It could be moving your body out in nature. It can be so many different things. It could be something like painting. It could be dancing. It's just having something that you really enjoy that doesn't associate with what your body looks like, but it associates with what your body can do. And I think that's really, really important. So as I said, I really hope that you got something out of this today. I wanted to leave you with a quote that I have written down here so that I don't forget it. But it's a quote that really sings to me, and it says, it's something I read online, and it says, loving your body isn't believing it looks good. It's knowing it is good, regardless of how it looks. And I hope you don't ever forget that message, because you are all absolutely amazing in your uniqueness, and we all need to be celebrated for our differences, and spending less time, I guess, focusing on the way our body looks and more time focusing on what we can do in these amazing bodies. So thank you for having me. I hope to one day connect with you all again through AIA, and I'm grateful for everything we're all able to do together. See you later. Bye.